Oddities, late night movies with Rob and Zack. This is a podcast about cinematic oddities, where we discuss any media that is too bizarre, abnormal, or off-kilter for contemporary audiences. Occasionally these projects gel. Most times they crash hard into the realm of obscurity. Join us as we delve into the cult classic swamp. I'm Zack.
And I'll be hornswoggled. I'll be greased and fried. Man, Zack, I have to say, why'd you make me see this movie? This is stupid. This movie is stupid.
That's the thing. This movie is, I think, the most diplomatic way to put it is probably quaint. I think quaint is a nice way to describe this movie. Am I wrong?
Quaint is a good way to put it. I have to say that the only reason I knew about this movie is because my freshman year roommate in college was a big fan of the Chiodo brothers, the metal band, the new metal band, I probably have to say. And I was like, what the fuck? And it turns out that they took their name from the special effects group of the Chiodo brothers type of thing. I don't like this movie. I don't love this movie. This movie has nothing going for it other than the special effects. And I'm sorry to say that this early, Zack.
Well, okay, Rob. Not to tip our hand too far too early.
Oh, but tip your hand. Let's get it over with. Tip your hand.
Okay, so may I present my context, not just simply with my history with this movie, but as to why I chose it for Monstober.
Oh, please. I would like to tip your hand, because I just did. I would like to understand why you chose this movie for us to discuss, for sure.
All right, and probably Rob has not, like, peek behind the curtain, Rob has not heard this, so there's a very good chance he literally, after I say this, interjects with, "Fuck, Zack, really?" Like, as to the impetus why I chose this for Monstober. So what happened was that, as everybody knows, Monstober is not a time of year, it's a state of mind. I think we've made that abundantly clear for 5 years now. And that come like, oh God, much like Monstober being a state of mind, Spirit Halloween is no longer a seasonal retailer. It's just like it lingers in like the shadows around like an abandoned Burlington coat factory or a Pier 1 import, whatever current retailer that's currently going out of business. Spoiler alert, Rob.
What you're saying is that you just show up to a lost part of, New York, weird, like, factory space, and you go, oh, that's a Halloween now.
Yes, pretty much. Like, it should be said, Rob, that the last operating Sears in New York State is now finally going out of business. Okay. And fun fact, Joe Yazzo, friend of Knights of Vader, told me the reason why that
Who will one day do with Signs. Or is that a different Joe?
Different Joe. That's a different Joe. That's a different Joe. That's
okay, I fucked it up. I'm sorry.
Oh, man, Rob, you're letting the people see behind the curtain a little too far now.
I've only seen that movie twice, and I want to discuss it so bad. I'm sorry.
This is the thing, though, is that I found out the reason why the Sears in the Newburgh Mall has been able to operate as long as it has is because the mall owners are bankrupt and Sears has not been paying rent for the last like decade and a half, which is kind of fantastic when you think about it. But going back is that Spirit Halloween now in our area, well, formerly Rob's area, currently my area, now opens up sometime in mid-August. It used to be Spirit Halloweens wouldn't open until like the last week of September. They get about like a month's worth of business, and then they would close shop by about November 2nd or 3rd, give or take.
The only thing they can open up to, for sure.
Exactly. Now it pretty much is most Spirit Halloweens try to open by September 1st. A lot of them now are completely operational by around Ben Affleck's birthday, give or take. So obviously, seeing that there was one, if Rob remembers, next to the Red Robin, which was formerly a Pier 1 import.
How do they relate to eyebrow threading?
Well, I would say even though they're both retail establishments, I have yet to see a Spirit Halloween in a mall. I'm not. I think they exist. I've just never seen one before.
Okay, fair.
Ideally,
Please continue.
ideally,
Please, yeah.
Rob, there would be one in the former Sears and or J.C. Penney. I will say, Rob, the J.C. Penney bite, formerly you, currently me, was the parking lot was host to a circus. Like one day I was driving home from work and legit there was a circus in the J.C. Penney parking lot. Like, and that's not even like
when you say circus, do you really mean like vaccination center? I think that's
yes.
what it actually was.
God damn it, Rob! I forgot I told you about that.
Hey, I'm trying to be real in my
Rob wants to
notoriety.
be factual. Rob wants to be factual, just in case there's somebody out there with like a journal and like a pen that's like, no. On October of 2021, they clearly stated, Your Honor, that this was a vaccination site per New York State Health Department.
We need to be appropriate because we eventually will need like government funding, right?
I'm pretty sure at this point we could probably apply for it and get it. It might be fraud 10 years from now, but we'll probably get it.
I think it's kind of out of this world, but if we did the right thing and applied the right way, we could get like $10,000 of government funding.
It's funny, when this podcast first started, the joke between Rob and I was like, oh, like how much grant money do we need for this? At this point, I'm pretty sure this counts as like student loan forgiveness. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if I put this, like, in the application for that, it would legit be like, yeah, here's an extra, like, 20 grand student loan for this. That aside, with the current dystopian landscape of retail in upstate New York.
Sure.
So, like, it's around Ben Affleck's birthday. Rachel and I go into Spirit Halloween. Her by gunpoint, me by sheer just exuberance. And if I may, when you're editing this, I request you insert this clip. It's from the Burns Casino episode of The Simpsons. I think it's season 5, where Mr. Burns becomes like Howard Hughes and becomes a recluse in the casino. And at one point, like, Mr. Burns is talking about making his own version of like Howard Hughes is the Spruce Goose. And at the end of the episode,
that you have given me season 5 as a point of context is incredible.
Exactly. I'm gonna make it easy for you. And so at the end of the episodes, Mr. Burns like tells Smithers, he's like, Smithers, get in the Spruce Goose. And Smithers is like, well, sir, that's a model. Like, I couldn't possibly fit in there. And Mr. Burns pulls out a revolver out of nowhere, cocks it back, goes, get in. That's essentially what happened getting Rachel into the Spirit Halloween.
Not only is it upsetting that you have picked the season and frame on where that is existent, but also the fact that I know that is where that comes from. We are fucked, Zach. You and me are fucked.
It's funny how we ended up deciding on this episode was exactly the same thing. It's like, Rob, we're going to talk about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And Rob's like, I haven't seen that movie in over a decade. As I pull out the revolver and cock it back and be like, it's currently available on Canopy. I'm like,
Zach made it right. And I go, well, yeah, he did. You know, that is messed up, bro.
So,
oh, my beloved plant. How I miss her. Bah! To hell with this! Get my razor, draw a bath, and get these Kleenex boxes off my feet.
Certainly, sir. And the jars of urine?
Oh, we'll hang on to those. Now, to the plant. We'll take the spruce moose. Hop in.
But, sir...
I said hop in.
Getting back to the context of this. So, like, obviously, as Rob knows, the Halloween fiend I am, I love the Spirit Halloween animatronics.
Sure.
I haven't, like I said, I only have a couple of them. I currently have Jason, Pinhead, and Beetlejuice. And walking around Spirit Halloween, it's always fun going in there for the first time. Like, it's a lot of fun just seeing what the current decorations are, how much is holdovers from previous years. There's a lot of philosophical questions about entertainment and media that we will get into this episode because this movie is shockingly shallow.
That's where I was going with, but please continue.
But this is the thing, though.
This is your venue.
Damn straight. This is the thing, though, is we're walking around Spirit Halloween. They had it's not like it was years past where it was very heavy on licensed character animatronics. Now, like, for the most part, it's about a third licensed, 2/3 just kind of like generic spooky creatures. Like, for this year in Spirit Halloween, they have a couple of cool characters. Like, they have oh god, like an animatronic monkey with the symbols that like slams over and over again. And it's like almost like 4 feet tall.
Monkey
It's neat.
Shines?
It's cute.
Is that a reference to Monkey Shines?
And I think it's meant to be more of a reference to the toy itself more than like the movie itself,
Okay.
specifically. But again, they had some other things too. Like there is weirdly enough, a pumpkin like living creature who like taunts you. Like it's a cool animatronic figure. It's about like $300. It's cool. There's also another character that looks like oh god, the bubonic plague mask, like that weird pointed nose, and like it taunts you because every animatronic taunts you to some degree. But this is the thing that caught my eye. And they have probably about 6 or 7 on display as part of their like setup. One of them was, at the time I didn't know this, but after watching the movie twice, Shorty, the character that has the boxing gloves and literally punches the guy's head off outside the biker club, from Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Okay, I was about to say, what is that from? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at this, and it's like they have like a little like placard that had like a little cardboard placard that says Shorty, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, I think $230. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, like that's a really specific like character like to do. Like I'm like, okay. And so like I'm walking around and like there's a shocking amount of Killer Klowns from Outer Space merchandise. Again, keep in mind it's just opened, this store, and it's August, like 2 months before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm walking around, I'm just like, what is up with all this? I'm like, what's going on? Like this is my entire context with Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
You're right. You're saying that the essence of like, why do people care about this?
No, not even. We'll get into that in a moment.
Okay.
This is the thing:
Sure.
is that prior to August of 2022, my entire context of Killer Klowns from Outer Space was in the year 2000. I remember going to Blockbuster, just like on the precipice of me like getting really into movies. I was only 7, maybe 8 years old. I remember seeing the VHS on the shelf at Blockbuster. And that was it. Like, I remember just seeing the title, Killer Klowns in Outer Space.
What was on the VHS? That's
I
what
couldn't
I wanna
even tell
ask
you. I couldn't even tell you. I just remember the title.
I think that is where I want to come from in the legacy of this movie. Did you see the weird Chiodo brothers, like, characterization of clowns?
It's possible. I have no memory of it.
Okay.
I do not from 20. That is my entire context with this. Like, this movie, I've been aware of, like, very, very, very passively. Like, I know it more as a title than I had any idea as to what the actual content of the movie was.
Well, that brings us to what I want to talk about. I think the most important legacy of this movie is the 2014 to 2016 clown pranks on YouTube. If you remember, Zach, there were people who dressed up as clowns to scare others for 2 years.
Yep, I remember that.
Okay.
Yep, I remember that. It's a thing that happened.
I want to talk about that in reference to this movie. And there are so many instances of people, whether or not they were malicious or not, like, built up to the fact of, like, I'm a clown, I scare you. Do you think this movie had some impact on that factor?
Well, can I answer your question bluntly?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Probably, most likely, yeah, I can't explain it. Because this is, like I said, I want to jump off what you were just saying. I want to piggyback off of it.
Can anybody explain it? Is what I'm.
My
big point is, can anybody explain it?
This is my thesis about this movie.
Sure.
I think this movie's popularity, and I cannot put enough quotation marks around this. And I want to say, like, as for my own opinion on this movie, I think this movie is cute enough. I watched it twice. It's the equivalent. And I don't even mean to try to be clever saying this. This is the cinematic equivalent of cotton candy. I think it tastes fine in the moment. Like, it's like, okay, like, this is fine. Like, as long as you don't go, it's like, oh God, this movie is very, very short. I'm just like, yeah, this is fine. Like, I'm not going to remember anything about it, but like, yeah, it's cute. Like people tried, like, you can tell the filmmakers tried. Like,
I'm with you.
And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, move on. Like, it's nothing to remember. And so this is the thing. So going back to Spirit Halloween. So like I look around, there's a crazy amount of merchandise. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like I don't remember this being a thing. I'm like, where's the popularity from this movie? Like where is it coming from? So like I go on spirithalloween.com like maybe a couple days later, and I'm just browsing because obviously the website, like any retail establishment, has more options than the physical store. And like I'm looking at some of the reviews, and this is some of the reviews for this shorty Killer Clowns from Outer Space animatronic.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, this was the impetus as to why I chose this movie for Monstober.
I want to interject and say I would have never watched this movie if it was not for Zack.
Exactly. Like I said, I wouldn't have watched this movie weren't for the fact that like I was trying to figure out some sort of socio-cultural philosophical mystery that I created.
Sure.
So I look at this review, and this review on Spirit Halloween for the animatronic figure was like this person was like verified purchaser. Usually most like websites have that now as a filter. And it's like, so like I was browsing my local Spirit Halloween, and I was absolutely astounded that they actually made Shorty from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I couldn't resist, considering that he's my favorite character. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, again, when I was reading this review, I had not seen the movie yet. So I'm like, maybe this is like, I don't know, like a specific character, maybe? Like maybe this is like a character that has like elevated importance in the movie.
Comes off like a goofy Gabrielson, you know? Like goofy goober essence, right?
Exactly. I figured that maybe this is something like out of all the characters, one that sticks out more the most. I'm like, okay, like whatever. So I was deciding between this movie for Monstober and Trick or Treat, because there's a crazy amount of Trick or Treat also merchandise, considering that that's a movie that came out in 2007, and the studio thought so little of it, it didn't even release it in theaters. It dumped it on like DVD because this Warner Brothers thought it was such a dud. I've watched Trick or Treat a couple times. I will never figure out why people like that movie. It's very just... It's a poor man's version of Creepshow. It's one of those movies that I would love to have LaShawn on for to discuss. Maybe a future Monstober, because maybe he knows something about it I don't.
I think you've said it's very much a how do we get here type of horror movie.
Exactly. I don't get why. I have seen that movie a couple times. I don't get why it's popular, specifically considering that the studio just dumped it on DVD because they thought it was so bad it wouldn't make any money in the theatrical release.
It makes me think of the Mike Flanagan movies that I've watched for Patreon, where I'm like Mike Flanagan is a fucking hack. Like, how did he get here? Type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I said, the filmmaker himself, I don't blame. I forget what his name is. I think it's Doherty something. He's gone on to do a bunch of like big tentpole stuff. The thing is that Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I'm like, okay, I want to go into this as just kind of clean as possible. So I found the movie on a streaming service. I can't even remember which one it is. It's one of the more disposable ones. It's not even Tubi level. It's sub Tubi. It tells you all you need to know.
I was able to watch it on Showtime because I have Showtime through my parents, that type of thing. But Zack is correct that it is available for free with ads on like Pluto.
Yes.
And that type of thing. So everybody can watch it.
Yeah, it's not anything that's hit, which is really weird considering that like the Arrow Blu-ray release of this movie is like out of print now, and it goes for like almost $100, which is insane. Again, can't figure any of like the socio-cultural like surrounding this movie, like just what would you call it? Haze? I cannot figure out.
Sure.
And so I watched the movie, like throughout the entire movie, I'm like, oh, where's Shorty? Where is this character that the animatronic figure is based off of? And a couple times I'm watching, I'm like, oh, maybe that's him. I'm like, no. And then obviously we get to the moment where like he shows up to the biker bar and he gets the boxing gloves. I'm like, oh, and like that's his entire scene. He has 2 minutes out of this like 85-minute long movie, and yet there's some guy on Spirit Halloween that was so hot and bothered that they made this character that has maybe 4 minutes of screen time throughout the entire film into like an automaton, was like so hot and bothered.
Well,
and I'm just like,
I want to ask you on that level, can you tell, and this is going to sound so fucking racist, can you tell the clowns apart? I thought every clown was the same when I watched this movie.
That's like there are about like 3 or 4 different clowns that are like our main clowns, and the rest of them are just kind of like, let's swap out the accessories and they'll be quote
I don't
different.
even think that hard. I think every clown looks the same.
But that's like, I don't disagree with you, because as I was watching this movie, I'm like, oh, is that Shorty? And I'm like, no. And then like once I saw him
don't
with the
even know what
boxing
you're
gloves,
saying by Shorty. Shorty was not a thing to me.
That's what I mean. If it weren't for the stupid animatronic that I've looked at like 5 times now by going to and from Spirit Halloweens, I wouldn't know either. The only reason why I know it's this specific character is because the stupid decoration has boxing gloves.
Yeah.
And there's only one scene in the entire film where one of these clowns has boxing gloves, and that's the biker bar scene.
Absolutely. I'm so lost on terms of just declination at this point that I don't think there is any who is who type of thing. I mean, I have to say this as well because of we have one character who is a cop. Dave, I think, is his character.
Guy McFace. Going back to an antiquated term, Guy McFace.
You just said what I think, Guy McFace. I don't understand how he is relative to anybody else. Like, this movie is Guy McFace the movie. Nobody.
Every character is Guy McFace, except for the crotchety old man policeman.
Well, Mooney, yes, Mooney, because he is so racist and so against just literally anybody being other than him. Like, there is a scene, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Zach. There is a scene where he says, I swear to God, if anybody is not white, I will fuck them in the face. Like, that happens. And he goes to the fact where he's like, I see you, and you're different than me. I'm going to fuck you in the face. And I'm like, oh my God, how did this movie get away with being this racist?
Oh my God, that's insane. It's not a wrong assertion, but like, it's insane.
Dude, he is so angry about
I know.
just being
I
different.
love him. Is it wrong? That's probably the most I've related to a character in the movie I've seen this entire year. Like, is that?
But dude, it's not the thing. It's not that he's angry about like different races. Where he's not angry about black people.
He wants to fuck anybody in the face that's not him.
Dude, there is somebody who shows on screen who's a woman, and he goes, "You are not a man. I need to kill you," type of thing. Like, it is detrimentally obtrusive. He hates everyone that is not him.
I know, it's great.
Yes. Yeah, well, it is kind of great and is kind of fucking terrible. Like, we need to talk about the fact that he is, and this probably gets at the fact of the detrimental figure of this movie. Everybody says, like, there's clowns killing these people. There's like a clown, here are these dead bodies. They give him every single piece of evidence that should ever be needed to do something as a police officer. And he goes, I don't believe you. I fucking don't believe you. And it's fucking horrible. He is one of the worst characters in filmmaking ever. And I get the fact that the Chiodo brothers are doing this for a purpose, but it is fucking hilarious. Mooney is so bad as a character. Like, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you in this movie, is that it's only for the first half of the movie when Mooney is a character, because he eventually does die in a great way, as per puppetry. But before that,
he literally gets, much like he wants to fuck people in the face, he gets a hand up the butt.
Oh, he gets a hand up the butt, and he gets played like a puppet, literally. But
Hell yeah.
Before that, everything anybody says to him, he disagrees with. That is insane to me. Like, oh my god, like that is insane, right? He ends up dying because he tries to put a giant clown in jail. And the giant clown takes his fucking handcuffs off and he goes, "Oh, yeah, you think you're a magician?" Or whatever the fuck he says. Dude, this guy deserves to die at the end of the film.
Yeah. Like I said, Mooney, but again, every time Mooney, like the second time I watched this, every time Mooney showed up on screen, I looked at the TV. Which is something I can't say for most other parts of this movie.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, the thing is that, like, Mooney is at least an amusing character. Like, he is a spotlight stealer. And so, like, every single time, like, I would see the actor on screen, or you'd start to hear his voice, it got my attention.
Okay.
To me, he is more, like, I appreciate the creative ingenuity that went into this movie. Like, you have to admit, like, the craftsmanship, just everything that the filmmakers put into this, you have to admire it on a level of like, okay, like you can tell they tried. All the creatives involved when it came to designing things tried. But like, to me, Mooney was more entertaining than the actual clowns themselves. So that's why he always got my attention.
He was purposely created to be such a dynamic, antagonistic character, because the whole idea of Mooney is that he is just angry against the fact of the movie. Is that what you're saying you enjoyed?
No, not that I enjoyed. I found him amusing. Okay. Much like a clown at a carnival, pardon the weird like parallel. I find him amusing just how riled up he gets.
No, sure. And he's riled up against the actual clowns, but the clowns are a real part of this movie. They are the villains. Like, did you like the fact that he was so against factuality or
no?
Otherwise?
I think I like how that Mooney just rejects his, like, pretty much is vehemently against everything that's part of his reality, even pre-clowns. Because even before the clowns show up, like, he's just angry about the world he lives in.
That's what I was getting at, and I like that. And I think that, you are putting the angriness of Mooney against the reality of the film itself.
Mm-hmm. Like, no, like I said, but again, this comes down to, my question with this movie is, I think, objectively speaking, this movie is, quote, fine. Like, I don't think there's anything detrimental to it. I don't find this movie offensive. I think it does everything it sets out to achieve. I don't think this is trying to be high art. I don't think this is trying to be the most entertaining film ever made.
Oh, no, we're in agreement there. Absolutely. This movie is trying to be a B movie, right?
Exactly. So I think it achieves the very mild goals it sets for itself. The thing I don't get, Rob, and this goes back to Spirit Halloween, and this even like, oh God, like the peek behind the curtain, some of the like weird like B-level insta hoes I follow on Instagram who like horror stuff, like what oh God,
I do not know what you mean by insta hoes, because I have an Instagram and a Twitter, and I only follow
Rob, you have an Instagram? Like,
yeah, I do, and I only follow.
Can I slide into them DMs?
You can. I will not follow you because I
can
only
I slide
follow.
Into the DMs?
No, you
DMs?
cannot, because I only follow Deal or No Deal models. That's all I do. Okay.
and Howie Mandel.
No, I don't follow Howie Mandel because he is an asshole. If anything, Howie Mandel should learn how to talk Bobby's World to follow me. That type of thing.
Oh my Jesus! Oh my God!
Yeah, that's a hot take. That's a hot take for people who are 20 years older than us.
Rob, could you even do the Bobby's World voice if your life depended on it?
Don't I have to talk like a little girl like this? Like, what is Bobby's World? No, I can't.
It's higher pitched than that. It's much higher pitched.
It's one of the most incredible voices. but I don't follow Howie Mandel. I don't follow Bobby's World. I follow every woman
I don't
that
follow
has
Bobby's
ever...
World. I don't follow Bobby's World.
I only follow...
There's
Zach,
a
stop
Bobby's
laughing
World?
at me.
There's a
I only
Bobby's
follow
World
the
account? I'm
women
not aware
who
of
hold
this?
a briefcase on Deal or No Deal. Thank you very much.
I'm just gonna later tonight. I'm gonna send Rob a picture of me holding a briefcase, and it's gonna say "sexed." Like that's all it's going to say.
Do you know how many episodes of Deal or No Deal I've watched?
More than any
Every
human
episode.
should.
Thank you.
Oh
Please
my God.
continue.
Oh my God. So anyway, though, so like after my Spirit Halloween escapades,
This
like
is going
I
to be
see
the strangest thing for me to edit.
It is. I feel bad for you, especially the turnaround time. You have
I'm
like
very
3 days to work
thankful.
on this.
I'm very thankful that I still have a Mountain Dew Thrash Apple to drink. Thank
Hell
you.
yeah. The thing is that like beyond Spirit Halloween, even like looking on Instagram where like some of like my horror aficionado Insta hoes that I follow, like they're posting stuff about this. I'm just like, what am I missing? Much like, oh God, what was his name? James Woods from Final Fantasy. I'm like, where is the proof that this is actually popular?
Where is the proof?
Is this something that is diving into your like social media feed, like the feed of this movie?
Yes. Not the movie itself, but the merchandise from this movie.
Okay. That's
like I said,
fucking insane.
Yes. Like I said, like I was seeing all this stuff from like my horror aficionado Insta hoes, and I'm just like, what is happening? I'm like, this is like in a weird 1-2 punch. Like in the span of 1 week, I'm seeing so much stuff about this stupid movie.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say stupid like in a derogatory fashion. I just mean like, where is it coming from? Where is the proof?
No. You're saying stupid in the sense of it's unrelegated nonsense.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You know?
Like I said, I think I want to reiterate it for the record. I think this movie is serviceable. It's fine. It's entertaining enough. Nothing against the filmmakers, the actors. I think they're doing exactly what they wanted to do. No more, no less. And so like I'm doing research into this even further. And I'm just like, what? Like, where did the popularity of this thing come from?
Sure.
So I dug even deeper. I drilled down. And like you type it into Google, and the first like 40 search results are like Killer Klowns from Outer Space video game just announced. And I'm like, what do you mean just announced? Like one of these like weird development hell video games?
It was announced like fucking 4 months ago.
Exactly. And I think just like back in like a week after Ben Affleck's birthday, they released like a teaser trailer. Like, I don't know, somebody did on YouTube, like the game developer. This is like a 3-in-1 punch where I'm just like, where is this movie coming from? Like, why is the cultural zeitgeist so enamored with this in a passive way?
But they're not. That's a thing.
Okay, yeah,
I think that's what you're getting to. I'm sorry.
I'm getting
I'll let
there.
you land. I'm sorry. I'll let you land.
Thank you. So in my like for every Cinemati's recording, I do some research, and part of my research is trying to delve into what the current landscape of just people think of a movie we're talking about. Just getting that feeling of like what are people looking at. So I just did a blatant Killer Klowns from Outer Space YouTube search. So I type it in, it comes up, and oh God, I would say probably half, if not 3/4 of the search results on YouTube are people taking videos of the merchandise at Spirit Halloween. And I'm just like, who does this? Considering that, like, oh God, like Spirit Halloweens now are not hard to come by. I remember when the very first time I ever went to a Spirit Halloween, weirdly enough, was 20 years ago. I remember in October 2002, where I lived in Newport Richey, Florida, a Spirit Halloween opened in Holiday, Florida, which was, I think, like a former, like, oh God, like a furniture store. So they had a lot of room. And I'll never forget it. No. I realistically, this was like a life-altering experience for me because like I'd never seen anything to this capacity. I was just turned 10 years old. It was mind-blowing. It really kind of set the template for the rest of my life, so to speak. And so I remember that. And so like you go back again 20 years later, I look at all this and I'm like, this is not Spirit Halloweens are not unique anymore. They're not. Like, and I don't mean that, like, again, I love this time of the year. I love Spirit Halloween. I love that they're a thing. But I'm like, the idea of taking videos to, quote, document the merchandise, it's insane. Like, it's genuinely insane. It's like documenting the Christmas display at Target. It's like, they're like, Why? Like, there's no shortage of information on this. And so, but this is the thing that convinced me, and this goes back to what it's been a while now since we've brought this up, but it's kind of a passive reoccurring theme with me, in that just fake internet traffic. So as I was doing my killer clowns from outer space research for the last couple weeks, I was realizing that like half of the videos on YouTube regarding this movie were people just videotaping Spirit Halloween. And yet you would, because with YouTube, it tells you how many days since the video was uploaded. Mm-hmm. So I counted, and I'm not making this up, at least 8 videos that were released within the last 4 days. And every single one of them had a view count in the ballpark of anywhere from 9 to 40,000 views.
So are you saying that, we get the scene in this movie of, one of the clowns acting like a figurehead type of thing, like a Indian cigar salesman type of thing, like doing the motions? That's now become one of the motions for people to visit and reflect on for this movie.
I don't even know that much. I in all honesty, I have not, in all the research I did, both social media, YouTube, and whatnot.
Okay.
I didn't see, that's the thing. I have not seen anybody reflecting anything specifically from this movie. It's as if the people consuming this killer clowns from outer space content, I'm not even sure if that's the right word, I don't think have watched the movie.
Well, that is something I wanted to ask you about, and gets into one of the big points I wanted to stress about this, is that I think, and want to get your opinion on, there was a huge resurgence of this movie on the clown pranks of 2016.
Do you think that the people that are turning 23 this year and they're buying hundreds of dollars of merchandise for this movie, are they buying it subconsciously for that reason?
That's my question. That's the thing where I am, kind of concerned or questioning about this essence, I guess I should say. And 2014 is when it started. 2014, there was, no loss of just people dressing up as clowns and standing in a menacing way. And that's all there is to say. This continued until 2015, and then 2016 is when it actually occurred that a group of people dressed up in clown costumes fucking, hurt a person. Like in Florida, in Orange County, South Orange County, there was a group of people dressed up in clown costumes that, literally hurt a person. So I don't think there's a lot to gain from this clown epidemic that we're talking about. I don't think Killer Clowns from Outer Space, this movie, had a big pressure on this. I think it was a part of it, but I also think that there was a bigger part due to John Wayne Gacy, right? Like serial killers.
I would not have pegged that. I have okay. Can I answer your question with another question?
Oh, absolutely, because there's no answer. Absolutely. And if your answer is clowny clown, we need to talk about that more. Okay. There's 3 things that influence the clown pranks of the early 90s, and it's John Wayne Gacy, and it's clowny clown, and it's clowny clown.
Good old Crichton Glover.
I never would have felt so strong about Mr. Farr, which, Zach, I don't know if you know, the Chiodo brothers, they designed the dead cat in Ruben and Ed.
Really?
They did, yes. So we have that much of an interest in the clown pranks of the 1990s.
Interesting. I did not know that. How about that? This is the thing, but this is my original thesis regarding all this. And that, like I said, there's anywhere from 8 to 40,000 views on these Spirit Halloween walkthrough videos that you can drive 15 minutes and find a spot, Spirit Halloween. They're not hard to come by. And this goes back to a thesis I've posed for a while now on Cinemodities. I think, and this is where Rob's background in cybersecurity comes from, I think probably minimum 75% of all internet traffic is artificial.
Oh, absolutely. Like bots on the internet are the biggest thing, for sure. Yeah.
And that's where I think I keep trying to explain all this killer clowns from outer space, just hoopla comes from. And I think it's all fabricated. I don't think there's any demand for any of this. None that's genuine.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I agree with you that, the reason there is a new video game about killer clowns from outer space is because somebody paid Korean bots to just, artificially create traffic for this game, Yep. That has to be the fact. Nobody fucking cares about this shit. It's not for artificial bots, absolutely.
And that's why I think this is like such a non-starter. I think it's just where you think this is being birthed from a place of the 2016 clown pranks combined with a morbid fascination by the culture about John Wayne Gacy. I think this is whoever owns the license to Killer Clowns from Outer Space currently is trying to emulate the success of the 2017 Stephen King It version of Pennywise.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think the only reason the movie was so successful is because of these bots being paid to make clowns so successful. I mean, everybody should remember, you and I, Zach, we lived through a time in our life where fucking people with a clown mask menacized others type of thing. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, we heard about it. I don't think you and I, Zach, ever experienced it, but most people were just like, yeah, I parked my car in my driveway, and right before I got into my house, there was a dude in a clown mask across the street. Is that is that scary? Is that scary? We don't know, but that is menacing enough to make it so successful. That had to be a deep throat level of menacing marketing, right?
That I don't know. That's the part where I don't have any answers. I am genuinely.
That's fair. You never.
I
what
don't
you're
have an
saying
answer.
Is you never experienced that, right?
Not personally, no. I was cognizant of it being a thing according to the internet.
But that's the thing is that it was so strongly presented as people got out of the cars and there was a clown across the street and it's like, oh my god, get the fuck out of here, You know how many times I've parked my car in my parking lot apartment and I've seen just a weird old woman across the street. It's not that she's a clown. It's just she's a weird old woman. I don't think that's this had to be a marketing technique, is what I'm saying.
The idea of the clown, like the people sitting there doing their weird, shady stuff.
Why do we put any effort into a clown being scary in the lead up of a year to it being in theaters? What that had to be a guerrilla marketing technique.
It's like the equivalent of what was it, Adult Swim being the doing the the Moon Knight thing where it was a bomb threat.
Yeah, when they put the signs up and people thought it was a bomb threat. Absolutely. I don't understand when people think anything they see is not a marketing technique.
Well, yeah, it's hard. Like I said, I don't. It's one of those things where even though I am a very deeply entrenched cynic, I don't want to be that way because I like giving everything the benefit of the doubt. Yet it's hard to look at anything now and not realize that all of it's just some level of just we're being coerced towards something.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Is that I don't care if something happens to me. I think it's a fucking, marketing technique. It's the same thing. It's like, Zach, you and I and Rachel went through that fucking, Goofballs McGillicuddy, like, Six Flags thing. Whatever the fuck it was.
Whoa. What was it we went through? Goofballs McGillicuddy?
I call it Goofballs McGillicuddy, but we went through that.
That's beautiful. Like, is that a thing? Like, can I even forget about Merriam-Webster? Can I Urban Dictionary that? Like, I need a concrete definition for that. Like, I think my brain will melt if I think about it next
like
time.
X amount of dollars to go through a
Excuse me.
House.
I spent X amount of dollars. You bought a $30
right.
Johnny Rockets burger for each of us.
And the gas. That's right. But no, it's like we went through this haunted house where we knew it wasn't gonna kill us. We knew it wasn't gonna hurt us, but we were still scared by the fact that a goofball like popped out of the corner and made me go that type of thing.
A goofball.
And everybody that
it's
recording
all fun
is
games
on. That is on
it's
recording.
all fun and games until a goofball pops out and makes you go
No, Zach, you know what I'm saying is like
beautiful.
we went
Beautiful
through
characterization of that night.
We went through Goofballs McGillicuddy feelings. And
God damn it,
I feel
Rob.
the same
God
way
damn it.
when we go through these movies. It's like, well, we know we're gonna get scared. What's the point? It's like when we go through a Goofballs McGillicuddy Six Flags experience.
I swear to God, everybody, if you don't characterize a attempt at something as Goofballs McGillicuddy, if it's not in vain, I don't know what better phrase you could possibly.
I have access to the Patreon and to the main feed. I could release our audio for the Six Flags, which is Goofballs McGillicuddy, the audio.
Okay, can I please not to interject in Goofballs McGillicuddy.
I have you saying after the Green Lantern ride, that was fucking stupid. I wish we never did it. Okay, I have that.
You sure that just wasn't the overall end of the night?
No, it was not the end of the night because I love the Green Lantern ride. Okay, I recited the Green Lantern code after that ride, and you were very upset about it.
Okay, Rob, not to tell you to shut the fuck up, but to tell you to shut the fuck up.
Let me. I'll let you land. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Let me land. Okay, as Rob was going through Goofball McGillicuddy's, I was scrolling through Instagram, and I'm not making this up. This is something that happened in real time. I'm scrolling through, and a T-shirt vendor that I follow called Cavity Colors, I'm not making this up, posted within the last 24 hours, quote, drop some clown emoji if Keller Clowns is one of your favorite movies too. We just restocked this absolutely stunning Invasion tee by generic artists, plus our classic cotton candy cocoon pink tie-dye tees. And I'm looking at this and it has over 3,000 likes.
Well, I think
I don't think there's.
Why do you think?
Whoa!
Sure,
I don't think there are 3,000 people who have watched this movie in the last decade.
Exactly.
Never mind genuine people have actually clicked the like button here.
I think that brings us to the imperative of this episode. Why did you want to discuss it, and why do you think people still care about it? I think this is the one of the most important things.
I don't think people even know this movie exists, yet there is some weird clandestine cabal out there of rights holders for this franchise.
Why?
That is trying. I don't know.
Why do you think?
I think someone's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I think somebody thinks, oh, clowns are popular. We have a property that may be popular. Let's try to artificially infuse popularity into it.
Do you think this has to do with the inherent, I would not say inherent, actually, I would think the common fear of clowns? Is this the go-to, like, scary clown movie?
I don't think so. I think what happened was the rights holders behind this movie saw that the Stephen King It thing was so popular and so merchandise heavy.
Thank you for saying that. The better killer clown, the better scary clown is Pennywise, right?
But that's the thing, though. Have you watched the new It movies?
No, I have not seen either It movie because
they're not like it's
Stephen King is a hack, you know.
Yes. Honey, this movie called me an asshole.
This movie called me an asshole. The last Stephen King movie I saw is from the mid-90s. It's called Thinner, where the last half of the movie turns into a fucking, like, gangster mob movie. And also, that's a Richard Bachman movie, which, I'm not a Stephen King fan. I'm a Richard Bachman fan.
Oh, God, he's still making that joke how many years later?
Every day, baby.
Oh, God. But no, I think a lot of it stems to just they're trying to artificially infuse popularity into something simply because it has a superficial connection to, just like you were saying, clowns equals scary.
Are you saying that through the lens of today or through the lens of this movie being released as a clown movie in the 80s?
No. I think when the Chiodo brothers did this and like thought of this back in the mid to late 80s, no. I think somebody owns the rights to this that's not them and is trying to profit off of it, and I think they've purchased an insane level of bot traffic. That is my thesis.
That's where I would agree, is that they made this movie off of the fact of, we got great costumes and everybody's afraid of clowns, right? That's it. That's all that this movie lives on.
Like I said, I don't think this movie lives off anything because I don't think anybody has seen it. I would think if you were to go to a horror convention and be like, what are your thoughts on Killer Clowns from Outer Space? It would be the same thing. Like their reaction in theory would be the same as when I told you about this initially, Rob. Oh yeah, I watched this movie 15 years ago.
Sure.
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
End quote. I don't think there is any popularity for this movie. Genuine. Like, I'm not doubting that there are probably some fans, but I think you'd be hard pressed to fill a phone booth with Killer Clowns from Outer Space fans.
So let's then bring that to the extravagance or the continuation of making a video game. Do you think this is just IP hogging, where they're like, okay, fair?
In my research for this, I looked into the video game. Like I read some breakdowns of it.
It's Friday the 13th. It's asymmetrical. Some people are the villains, some people are the heroes type of thing.
And as I was reading, watching criticisms, commentary of it, I'm like, this, based on what the developers are doing, and this is the developers. I'm like, this seems like it could be fun. Like, in theory, based on what is being explained to me, I'm like, this has potential to be fun. But I think the same could apply based on any horror survival game.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
I think you could very easily divorce the IP from this, and I think the mechanics would be just as intriguing. Again, I think this is just... I don't even think a studio owns this. I think it's just somebody like, some movie executive chomping on a cigar that owns this. I wish I could blame Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal for this, but I don't think it's them.
No, what you're saying is that somebody said, here's a title that we own. Let's make it a video game type of thing.
Exactly. Let's over merchandise this in the hopes that people will buy it.
Over merchandise might be my favorite phrase that you've ever said, Zack. But you are so fucking right.
So, like I said, I want to ask you, Rob, after watching this movie, is there, we talk about it a lot on the podcast for the last almost 5 years now. Is there anything...
I've never talked to you before, ever, Zack.
Never in this way, anyway. Is there anything in this movie that, looking at it under the lens of 2022, that normies, social media people would latch onto? Is there any low-hanging fruit for the stupid uninitiated?
Zero things. The mainstays of what the clowns with a K do in this movie are relegated to wrapping people up in popcorn, wrapping people up in cotton candy, that type of thing, like circus-related foods. That is the oldest news I've ever fucking heard, and that is what everybody would think is the oldest fucking news. The only reason this movie exists currently is for pure nostalgia of somebody who has seen it earlier. And it is fucking stupid because anybody who has seen it earlier has seen everything done in this movie, 20 times better, or not even 20 times better, not like 20 times adjacent type of thing. This movie has nothing going for it. This movie is
I will say it has nothing going for it by 2022 standards.
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing I took from this movie is like, oh, wow, I'm watching this movie 20 years later. They did the 20-year construct of cotton candy and popcorn, and nobody cares about that. This movie is a relic of its time, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's quaint, it's cute, but there's really nothing profound about it as to why we should be discussing it. More than 30 years later.
Absolutely. There's no reason to think that, we need to wrap people up in cotton candy. Oh, we need to wrap people up in popcorn. The one thing I really loved about this movie was the popcorn moving in the shower scene. That's it.
Yeah.
I love that idea. The idea that, the popcorn that they shot was sentient. That's it. And it's not even fully realized, is because the popcorn needs to be totalized in this fucking hamper scene or something like that. I would have loved more if the popcorn was like spiders, but it wasn't, and that is a detriment to me.
Yeah, like I said, I guess we should talk more about the movie itself, but the movie is so shallow that it's hard to delve into it with any substance.
I mean, exactly. What is there to talk about other than the costumes? And the costumes aren't even that great. They're not articulate, which is one of my biggest problems with this, is that the Chiodo brothers, they put so much effort, from all my research, they put so much effort into these costumes, and the costumes can't even move their fucking lips. They up and down their lips, up and down their eyelids. Are you telling me that you put $200,000 into these costumes and they can't even articulate themselves? Go fuck you. Come on.
I think it was only wasn't the whole budget only $2 million?
I think it was less than $2 million. I think it was 1.8 for sure.
I don't think the costumes and the makeup are, again, for what they were going for, as in a B movie, a hard B movie, before that became a cute term by horror movie standards. I don't think anything in this movie is objectively bad. It's the idea that outside of just making a cute little poor man's version, it's an intellectually vacuous version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
But what is the point of doing that without articulation? I mean, when we get a long, extended scene of a clown trying to, for lack of a better term, seduce a little girl, get her over to his guys. I know, I'm sorry, it's not seduce. I'm sorry, okay. But the biggest articulation we get in that scene is the top lip moves a little bit. That's not beneficial to the story. I mean, I know they're relying a lot on the momentum and the feeling that we get in that scene, but shouldn't our puppets be more articulate?
I don't think that's what the Chiodo brothers were going for. I think they were again, this is meant to be a goofy romp. That's where I don't forsake them. I think they did exactly what they wanted to. They wanted to make a goofy, fun movie based on all the research I did about the idea of space aliens being, quote, killer clowns. And I think at that level, the movie succeeds at what it's going at. Because even this is the point to one specific scene in general. I think for the most part, the movie is clever enough. like again, clever for what it's going for. Because there's a sequence toward the around 2/3 of the way through where we have this random just teenage jock character driving down like a road, and we have this clown that is driving an invisible car, and he runs this dude off the road. And as I watched that scene both times, I'm like, okay, this is even though it's very janky of a scene, like the seams are very clearly showing, I think it's a creative enough bit. A bit being probably the best way to describe all the individual scenes in this movie. It feels like this is less of a movie about a cohesive story and more just a bunch of vignettes and bits just strung together with the narrative of invasion of the body snatchers.
The scene you're mentioning is very close to when they see the parade of the clowns downtown, I think. You know, like where they're sucking up the cotton candy cocoons type of thing. I am okay with that. It's everything before where they are just like, you know, not to mention, you know, the little girl scene that I mentioned, but also the scene where they show up and he's like, pizza. And the girl in the lingerie goes, oh, pizza. And it's like a porn intro, you know? And it doesn't work because there's no articulation on the puppet to make it seem like a porn intro. But I think that's my problem, is that there's a distinctual difference between the articulation that is necessary to, you know, suck up people into their cotton candy cocoons, and the difference between them saying, like, oh, we are cocoon makers, and this is just our town now, type of thing.
That's one where I will give the movie some credit because I think it's meant to be very implicit. Again, this is invasion of it's the Jimmy C thing of like whether it be Titanic where they point to the dry erase board and they're like invasion of the body snatchers plus clowns.
Aliens with a dollar sign. Absolutely.
Yes, aliens with a dollar sign. Exactly. And like I said, I don't blame the movie. I blame this non-existent fan base for the movie. That's the thing.
Fair. That's fair. Okay.
Like, whereas, to give a nice example, I think I've mentioned this countless times now on the podcast, and that with Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead, the franchise, is no longer a B movie franchise. It's A tier. And my turning point for that was I remember in high school, there is the Vanessa Hudgens movie where Vanessa Hudgens, I think the movie's called Band Slam. In that Vanessa Hudgens is supposed to be like the weird, quirky girl.
I think it's Aubrey Plaza, but I know where you're going. Yeah,
it's poor man's Aubrey Plaza. Look, you know what, Rob? I'm not even gonna make a joke there. You're absolutely right. In this movie, Band Slam, you have your titular dude character who's like, kind of like a nerd, and he's not sure of himself. And by the end of the film, that he's completely like confident in who he is. But like Vanessa Hudgens is severely miscast, and like she's supposed to be like the nerdy like outcast, which makes no sense considering that Vanessa Hudgens looks like Vanessa Hudgens.
Which is why I think it's Aubrey Plaza, but please continue.
Yes, like Aubrey, when this movie came out in 2009, Aubrey Plaza probably would have been a better casting choice. The point being is that like in that movie in 2009, she's like, she invites this like quirky nerdy dude. She's like, you should come to a midnight screening with me of Evil Dead 2. And at that point, I'm just like, no. Evil Dead is no longer an underground franchise.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like, whereas like obviously ever since Army of Darkness, which has been the most mainstream release of that franchise, there's
quite
you
possibly
can point
a horrible movie. Absolutely, I hate that.
Whatever.
Movie.
I'm not going to argue that.
Okay.
The point being
that's fine.
that
We're not going to argue that now. Absolutely.
The point being is that since Army of Darkness has come out, you can point to numerous times in that franchise's lifespan, or you can say, this is where the fan base has organically grown. And that's when we're even like, think of all the books that Bruce Campbell has penned. It's that notion of, you can say, these are areas where you can explain why they made the remake, why they made the TV series, why they made the video game, as to like, these are reasons why this fan base has grown in the last 30 years. You cannot do that with Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Absolutely.
The fact that, like, think about it. Horror movies are some of the easiest properties to exploit into oblivion. Good Lord, there's been more Chucky movies than I can count. Leprechaun, Hellraiser, just the list of horror franchises, Puppet Master. Like, there are no shortage of horror franchises that have been exploited because of just whoa. Hold on a second. Of an iota of interest. Yet, Killer Clowns from Outer Space has had nothing since that sole film in the late 1980s.
Well, my question would be, why do you think clowns are so relegated to this kind of backdraft or backspace of, the only clowns that exist in horror are it, Pennywise, of course, and that might be it, that pun aside, that type of thing. Why are clowns so relegated to the back half of horror?
I don't think it's clowns. I think it's the idea that just like we live in a culture now where clowns have become a meme. And that goes back to the point you were even making about the 2016 just clown, what do you want to call it, epidemic of just people doing things for like misplaced chasing clout. I think that's ideas. Like, think about it. Clowns were birthed as to be entertainers. And because culture for the last 15 years has made them out to be a scary thing, and it's bent so far now where we're to a notion of just clowns are foremost a scary thing, and them being funny is like the deep perverted version of them. Sure. It's like an inverse of what clowns have been for the majority of their existence. Obviously, the origin of clowns going back to King's jesters from hundreds of years ago.
Okay, that might answer the question that I was going to ask. Is that clowns are so medieval almost that they don't deserve or earn a space in our modern era type of thing.
Not that they don't. I think there might be I think outdated might be the better term, but you tell me.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. What do you think the modern era of a jester is? Do you think it is a comedian?
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson. Zach, that's fucking hilarious.
Hell yeah.
You said that faster than I could ask the fucking question. That is hilarious. But to get at that ideal, is the jester version of clowns the SNL, the sitcom of today type of thing? I know you said Pete Davidson, but I would also say Andy Samberg. Somebody whose livelihood is based on just cracking a basic joke to make sure they get the next $1 million paycheck type of thing.
I guess just is somebody who, I guess a jester is just whoever, like somebody who tells the powers that be. You know what it is? Ignore what I just said. You know who the current contemporary jesters are? It's Colbert, Kimmel, and Fallon. That's it.
You took the words right out of my mouth because I don't think jesters are relevant anymore. People who make jokes are not relevant anymore. People need to make jokes relevant to the constant, thought of the day. And I know Ben and I really hate this. We talk about this a lot on Patreon. Everybody, go check it out. Patreon.com/cinemodities. Ben and I have a super big problem with the fact of people who use Donald Trump as a punchline. That's kind of the thing. The punchline today is politicians and those jokes. And I think that's what you're getting at.
Yes, politics, but I think it's the idea that, like, whether it be SNL or Colbert or Kimmel, they go out there and they go out knowing, regardless of whatever joke they make, it's not going to be provocative.
Yeah.
They know it's not going to be provocative. It's designed to satisfy one specific niche of the audience and no more, no less. Alrighty, Rob. So going back to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, is there anything that you objectively want to point to that you liked?
Oh, sure. I'm glad you brought us back to it. I would very much like to point out the acting of the lead character, whose name I unfortunately do not have written down, or if I have written down, it is not, in my notes appropriately. Near the end, his scene of saying, "Another door, another door, another door."
Steph, another door!
I can't take this anymore!
Come on, open the door! Another door! Come on, Mike! Another door! Another door! Hurry! Debbie, come on!
That is fucking hilarious. And speaking of that, I have to bring up, I absolutely hate, the ending where, Dave the cop survives as well as the two ice cream people. I think that is a cop-out. I think that they all should have died.
No, I completely agree. I will say that the two ice cream brothers, them surviving seems a little hollow, but
Sure.
Cop McFace Man, I kind of even though narratively speaking, he should die based on just the extent of the explosion of the circus spacecraft.
Oh, sure.
It's I do like him surviving. I know Rob and I differ on that. I like him surviving.
I don't want him to survive solely for the fact that I think that there is a decent subjective narrative, like I said, in terms of him dying to let the world survive. Like, the sacrifice should be pertinent, and it's not pertinent. It's almost vacuous. Oh, it is vacuous because of him surviving.
But that's the whole movie, though, Rob. If you look at the movie at large, I'm willing to forgive Cop McFace living. The two ice cream guys who really have nothing, who really aren't in the film outside of the very beginning, and then show up toward the beginning of the third act. That I get, because
You're right
I have to,
about that, yeah.
I have to say, much like how one of Rob's favorite cinematic tropes is, "Let me consume this and I will gain your power." One of mine is, I love it when cars have slight accidents and they explode. The ice cream truck being thrown around by Clownzilla is just beautiful. When Clownzilla picks it up and throws it, and it just obliterates into fire and debris. I'm like, hell yeah!
One of the
I'm
best scenes in the
love
movie,
that.
Clownzilla, played by Stephen Chiodo, the director of the film.
Yeah, Clownzilla is great. Watching him just smack around this toy ice cream truck. I'm like, that's I dig it, man. Those are the moments where I'm like, I am vibing with this movie.
I could totally get behind when the faux clown car lands itself at the end of the movie outside of the big spaceship scene. If it was just the cop, one of our main character cops, fine, whatever. Good guy gets the good day at the end. The fact that the two ice cream guys come out and go, "Ha ha! We had sex with clown girls! Woo!" Fuck that shit, Their moment is having sex with those clown girls with the big tits. They do not need to survive at the end.
Should we point out to the fact that the clown girl tits grow in that sequence?
Well, I mean, we should not only point that out, we should also ask ourselves, would you fuck those clownussies? Zach, I'm not sure if you're aware of this.
Wait. What was that word? Can you repeat that word, please?
No,
Can you phonetically pronounce it, please?
I'm not only
syllable by
going
syllable.
to repeat this, I'm going to explain it. Clownussie. I don't know if you're aware of this, Zach. There has been a really common thing on the internet where it's basically anything, period, anything. You put ussy at the end of it. So it's oh, this is a clown. That's a girl. I want to fuck that clown ussy. It's oh my God, I took a dive underwater and I saw a rock. That's rockussy type of thing. Ussy as a suffix has become a mainstay meme.
I am so confused right now.
I'm not kidding you. This is a thing on the internet. Clownussy.
I don't doubt that it's a thing. I am concerned about it.
You don't like it. I don't like it either. Clownussy is what we're talking about, though, right? Like, these two clowns, they expand their breasts, and the two characters in this movie go, ooh, I like big tits, basically, right? Clownussy? Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Clownussy. Damn.
Hearing you say that is upsetting to me, Zach.
Exactly, as it should be. It's the Lord intended it to be.
Zach is a wholesome, correct man. When I bother him with internet memes, it hurts me.
I'm just disappointed when he says clownussy, he doesn't go, I
don't want to. No, because I'm not doing that because I don't want a clownussy, okay? I'm not into that, you know? I am not into that in the fucking slightest.
So many questions, so little time. I'm trying to think what else from this movie that sticks out to you.
The way you said that came across as purely, Rob, please stop talking about this.
I'm glad the subtext was not missed by any means. Alrighty, Rob, but that being said, are we ready to delve into questions?
Well, I'm angry that I didn't get to ask you with all that being said. Okay, who do you think you are, Zach? No, we should get into questions. I don't think there's anything else I had. If I do, I will be just plainly upset when I looked at my notes post haste, that type of thing. But Cinemodities and Late Night, I think Cinemodities, yes, this is a pure Cinemodity. You know, from the fact of the costumes, of the you know, B-movie status of it, I cannot say anything but yes. But Late Night, I have to go opposite and say no. Like, I can't imagine me watching this or choosing to watch this with anybody else. So I'm going yes for Cinemodities, no for Late Night. What do you think?
I'm going to do a reverse on you, Rob. I actually no. I'm going to say
you're picking a full reverse. You're picking a full reverse over here. You're doing a revert. Okay.
Actually, okay. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to say yes to both.
Hitting the R2 button. You hitting a revert.
I am. We do a little reverse action.
Hitting him with a little reverse action.
Rob,
okay,
real
that's
quick.
good.
Did you hear that Adam Sandler's going on tour?
I mean, isn't he always? I did not hear this recently, but isn't he always kind of like on tour?
Well, yes, but like I guess he's like he just announced the tour because I keep seeing it on Facebook that he's actually
telling me that you could hit me with a little reverse
action? That's the question. I wonder on this tour he'll hit us a little reverse action.
The most obscure Adam Sandler content that we reference, it might happen in my town.
Maybe.
Hit him with a little reverse
I will
action.
say, okay, I want to say yes to Late Night movie because I do think this would be fun. I don't think it'd be fun, but I think it'd be, you would get a rise out of someone that is subjected to watching this.
That's my question though. Who are you going to show this to? Like,
it's a lower tier Late Night movie. I'm not saying, we've been doing this for what? This is the 5th Monstober now. I'm not going to lie. This is lower tier Late Night movie.
Okay.
The point is that I could
you
envision myself showing this to people.
For sure. Okay.
But I will say, as for Cinemodity, what I want to do is I have a very specific scenario in my mind. Will you please indulge me?
No. Can I say no?
Can I
say no when we end the episode so it's easier for me to edit?
Rob, we still have snacks, so we both know the answer.
It is
to that.
so fucking crazy that there is like the snack spreadsheet is so fucking off the wall at this point. Like I have not kept up, as astute listeners will notice. You know, Zack had a rough time last year. Rob had a rough time this year. The snack spreadsheet ain't in good shape.
Correction. Zach had a rough 2020, not 2021, Rob. Get it straight.
Oh, okay, that's right. Well, so we had one good year between our both bad years. Absolutely. Okay. Either way, the snack spreadsheet is not in good looks, I have to say. So I will have to catch up on this eventually, but I guess you are correct, Zach. Please give us everything that, our spreadsheet needs, I guess.
Okay. For Cinemati status, what I want my answer to be is we post a poll that says, should Killer Klowns from Outer Space be a Cinemati's film? And due to bot traffic, it's an overwhelming yes. That's what I want my answer to be for Cinemati status.
Okay, I find this hilarious because you're calling the bot outcome.
Yes. So, Rob, snack.
Okay, yeah, let's get to snacks. So I would like to first off, sandwich in a plastic bag. It's what the security guard at the very end of the movie, before the clowns, in a fantastic joke, a bunch of clowns get out of a small car, because that's what this movie is about. The security guard pulls out just a sandwich in a plastic bag. I would love that. If you want to order a sandwich, we give it to them in a plastic bag. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. The other thing I have to say is the Killer Klowns as dog catchers in the restaurant, because at the start of this movie we get a good shot of it's PETA appropriate, I should say. It's a loose net thrown over a dog for comedic effect. If we have anybody in the restaurant who brings in a dog, a service dog, a cat, a service cat, anything like that, we just have the Killer Klowns as those who capture them, because we shouldn't have animals allowed in our restaurant, right?
May I say that I'm not, when I say this, I don't mean service animals. Like, there are some people out there that actually do need service animals, like obviously the blind people. There is an actual need for service animals.
Can you expand on that? I want you to dig your own hole, Zach.
The thing is that, I know this was about 10 years ago.
Zach said no and kept going.
No. This is Zach saying, hold my beer. This is the thing, is that, there are people in this world that genuinely need service animals in order to survive. The thing that makes me angry, I remember, seeing and hearing about this maybe 10, 15 years ago, was that, people realized, that rent don't own property, that, if I list my insert animal here as a service animal, I can bring my animal into the place I'm renting and not have to pay a fee. And that makes me mad, because you are exploiting a technicality that people who have a genuine disability need to use. And it's okay, that's bad enough, because then obviously you hear all these stories about how a woman will bring up a service peacock on a plane, and it's okay, this is just an asshole. This is somebody that just is an asshole, and they found a legal loophole. Sure. I will say, going to Rob's point, the idea of having the Killer Klowns as quasi dog catchers, I 100% support, because where I work, and this has nothing to do with service animals, that was just a weird misplaced tangent by all means, but where I work, you can bring dogs and stuff and just have them just walk throughout
as
just
customers or as employees.
No, just customers.
Okay, gotcha.
I would imagine if it's an employee, if you want to do it, they probably wouldn't put their foot down either. They'd probably question it a little bit, but they probably, at the end of the day, you could probably hide behind some legal rhetoric for it. Lord knows.
There's probably half a page of bullshit that you could sign to get that through.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I don't get the idea of bringing your pets everywhere. Maybe it's just me, but why can't Fluffy stay at home?
I'm with you, Zach.
So if anybody tried bringing their pets to Mars 2112, the former space, and we had the Killer Klowns with their giant vacuum, by all means, go for it.
I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but there was somebody that I taught once, because I think the cinema audience knows, and you know, Zach, that I was a teacher for many, many years. And one of them brought a service dog very commonly. And then one day, when they brought their service dog, it was test day, which I had to hand out, papers to everybody.
Rob had to give the dog an exam as well. And
I literally put a piece of paper on the dog's face. And I said, if the dog's here, it's gotta take the test. One of my greatest moments as a teacher. I gave a test paper to a dog. That's it. That's the end of the story. There's no other.
I will say that conjures up a fantastic image.
Absolutely. If anything, I'm not an asshole when I teach. I'm a fun dude,
He's a thorough asshole.
I hope that woman, I don't remember her name, I'd have to look it up type of thing. I hope that she still tells that story and says, like, I don't care if it was good or bad. I hope that to her friends she says, like, this fucking teacher put a paper on my dog's face, I hope that happens.
That's on Rob's Rate My Professor.
I could only hope.
It literally says, and I quote, "This asshole put a piece of paper on my dog's nose."
Dude, that's a good point. I have not checked Rate My Professor in like 7 years. I had only positive reviews the last time I checked.
Really?
Yeah. Well, hold on.
We're gonna review bomb that. Where do I
really in the sense that you were angry about it?
Can I pay for bots on Rate My Professor?
The way you said "really" was like expecting I would be hated. I'm a good teacher. Oh my God, Zach. Oh my fucking God.
Rob's giving the goddamn dog an exam. Shit.
Who don't like that, bro?
I just comically imagine like the dog just sitting there and like Rob puts like a piece of paper like on like its like the bridge of its nose and just like quizzically looks up like quizzically like
That's what I did. Put it right on its face and the dog had no fucking clue what was happening. I said, if the dog's here, it's gotta take the test.
Jesus.
The last thing I have to put forward for a restaurant is somewhat similar to this. It's more in the alignment of being angry at what is said in this movie. We should have and hang up big old sacks of cotton candy in our restaurant solely for the purpose of disproving this goddamn woman in the movie who says nobody hangs up cotton candy like this. We should do that. We should have big old sacks of cotton candy, letting them dry, just to prove that main girl wrong when she says no one hangs up cotton candy like this, because she has no right to say that. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Well, what's in the giant sacks of cotton candy? Like,
I'm thinking small children that we, disapprove of from the sin immodities portion of the restaurant.
Well, that's something I want to ask about the movie itself, because at one point in the movie, and this is going to be my own snack, that we see one of the clowns like pull out a straw and like use the giant cotton candy like a drink.
They treat the cotton candy as like spider sacks that they drink from.
Yeah, but like at one point when we see like them early in the movie, we see the characters like reach for the cotton candy sack and it pulls off, and you see like almost like the equivalent of pulling skin off someone's face.
Yes.
Like, do we know what happens to the cocoon? Like, what is that?
I took it as a very spider like
is that what
type
it is?
Of thing. Is that it's like when the spider spins a web around a bug type of thing. It starts to decompose, and they just drink the goo from it.
Oh, okay.
That's how I believe.
So once you're in the cotton candy cocoon, like that's it. Like you're done.
In essence, within a time frame, I think you could still be saved from the cotton candy cocoon, but if you're in there long enough, you will start to decompose.
Okay. I will say though that like about towards the end of the second act, when lead female is like zapped and she doesn't turn into cotton candy cocoon but into like force field cocoon.
Because she goes into a balloon or some shit.
I know, and I'm just like, man, that's some dense plot armor right there.
Right? I mean, it was like, why can't she be in cocoon? Because we need to save her at the end.
Exactly. That is some thick plot armor.
Dude, we didn't even talk about the fact, because it's not even worth talking about. The main female lead of this movie has 3 modes. Two modes: scared or in the shower. Like, that's it. Like, she is so fucking useless.
Yeah, she's there. It's just generic.
She's worse than a fucking Tenet character, you know? It's like, oh, are you scared or are you useless?
Are you science lady, military lady, or tall lady?
Exactly. She's not even that. She's scared or useless. She's lower than Tenet.
Hosek, can I get a mulligan on that, please?
Oh, please, because it needs to be clarified. You know, what's your favorite female?
Yes.
From Tenet.
Are you science lady, military lady, or Elizabeth Debicki?
Dude, it is still the craziest thing to me that when I meet people, like, for the first time, and for some reason, like, Christopher Nolan will come up, and I'll be like, well, what was your favorite woman in Tenet? And they'll go, what? And I'll be like, there's only 4 women in a 2.5-hour movie. And they'll be like, I've never thought about it that way. And I'm like, how can you not think about it that way? This movie is misogynistic as fuck.
I still like the fact you have like John David Washington that's like what, like 5'10", and you cast like Elizabeth Debicki who's like 7'11", and it's just like why?
Dude, not
why?
only the fact of their height difference, the fact that John David Washington is in
Denzel Jr.
fucking 85% of the movie, and the tall lady is in 15% of the movie. That is insane to me. And it's like, okay, can you explain what you liked about tall lady? And it's like, she was tall. I mean,
I like the part where she put suntan lotion on the side of the boat.
I like the part where she was, you know, misogynistically being blackmailed about an art piece. Like, that's it. It's Christopher Nolan. Dude, I cannot wait to see Oppenheimer just for the fact that he's going to be like, here's a lady. That's it. You know what Oppenheimer did when he was alive? He had sex with a lady once. 3% of the movie. Fuck you. You know, that type of thing. It's fucking insane to me. Christopher Nolan has no regard for females, and it's fucking insane to me.
Oh, Nolan. All right, so going to my snack for Killer Clowns.
Yes,
I'm going to keep it simple. 2 words. Silly straws.
Oh, are you thinking silly straws just for, you know, restaurant status? Like if somebody gets a drink, they get a silly straw?
Yeah, silly straws. Nothing, no more, no less. Silly straws.
Okay. I drank when I was a kid. I drank out of silly straws a good bit. I loved silly straws when I was like 6 years old.
Speaking of silly straws, do you remember, and I don't think it's exclusive to this, but this is what my memory comes from. It was for the Disney Tarzan movie. Like McDonald's had like collector straws, and like it had the head of like Tarzan, I don't know, like the Rosie O'Donnell monkey and like a couple of the other characters. And like when like liquid or something passed through it, somehow it had a sensor and it would like make a noise like based off like the character from the movie. I think we should have those straws as well. Like it's your head, my head, some random characters from like different cinematics.
So you're
movies.
talking Robin, Zack, silly straws is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And like a couple of them from like, and then like some other ones are from like characters from like movies we've done, like Vox Lux. It's a Natalie Portman one, and it's like, are you retarded? Your eye does that thing sometimes. Like,
Dude,
the world just kind of passes you over.
I was about to say, are you retarded? Do you want to use the silly straw? Dude, I did not. I don't think I know I used silly straws when I was younger. I don't think I had any like movie specific silly straws, but you saying a Rosie O'Donnell monkey silly straw.
That's a real thing. That's not an embellishment.
No, but we need to recall the fact that when Tarzan, the movie, was coming out, they asked Chris Rock to play one of the monkeys.
Yes. That character, that exact character.
And he said, you can go fuck yourself if you think I'm going to play a monkey. And Rosie O'Donnell post on the bus with my sister playing a mentally handicapped person was like, yeah, I'll play a monkey. Dude, I think 3 of our listeners will understand what we're talking about, and it's fucking hilarious.
Oh my god! How does Rosie O'Donnell go, Rob?
Ah! I mean, like, what do you want from me?
Oh my god. 19... Is Rosie O'Donnell still alive?
Yeah, isn't she still on The View?
Rob, she's been on The View in like 15 years.
Are you serious? I mean, I honestly thought she was on The View still.
Rob, like the only people on The View still are like Maude Behar and like Whoopi Goldberg.
Dude, we're living the dream over here on Cinemodities.
Oh my god. All right, Rob. So how are we gonna end this week's episode of Cinemodities? I don't even have an idea.
I think the only way to end this episode is the Killer Klowns by the Dickies, the theme intro in reverse, because it's so fucking good. It explains the movie, right? You know. Let's play that in reverse. And I think we should keep it going, Zach. Even though we've actually been keeping up with good things, next week we're going to discuss a thing, right?
Yes. Well, no. Next week is Goosebumps.
Next week is Goosebumps. We actually have... Well, see, Zach, here's the thing. I could shit the bed and just not edit that episode, you know? Even though it's pretty short, I think we did like 2 hours on Goosebumps. I could give up and not edit that episode. So we should say,
even though the turnaround for that has been well in advance of what you've been doing the last couple of weeks, you could still completely shit the bed.
I mean, I don't know if I want to bring myself.
Rob's like, it's possible.
Revisit.
I've shot the bed for less.
Maybe next week is our Men in Black 2 episode.
Oh no!
Or maybe it's Jordan. I have not.
Or maybe it's Jordan Peele Twilight Zone.
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the lost episode of Ben and I discussing Night at the Museum. Who knows? You know?
Maybe it's the lost episode of the 4-hour cut of the Chappelle Show discussion.
Maybe everybody should just pay for us to listen to Patreon, because that's the only thing I'm consistent with these days. Dude, I think the best thing to say is that next week we're going to have an episode about a content. I think that's the best.
And based
thing to
on,
say.
and considering it's one of the very few consistencies in Cinemodities history, it is the last episode released in September. So 3 guesses what it will be.
Yes. Three guesses as a genie. Maybe it'll be, the 3,000 Years of Longing, or me talking about how I saw Aladdin in prison, that type of thing. we only got so many.
It wasn't
so many
prison, it was
choices.
jail. There's a difference.
Jail versus prison. That's the Cinemodities nitpick that we need these days. No, but we should definitely end the episode with the Killer Klowns song by the Dickies, because I think that is fantastic. Just to say, I don't know if Zach, you saw this. That song was written before the movie was created.
Shocking.
So they did not know what the movie was about before they made that song. And I hope everybody has been enjoying these goofy, fun episodes from Zach and I.
Mm-hmm.
I'm